Hello and welcome to Shootin' the Breeze. I'm WECT First Alert Chief Meteorologist Gannon, and I'm so glad to have you aboard for this 19th episode, dropping in October 2024. Much of this episode will be dedicated to a look back on Hurricane Hazel on the 70th landfall anniversary of this infamous Cape Fear storm. This episode's trivia question is a little more low-key, though. It's on the subject of fall. Fall is a transitional and inconsistent season. Never was this more evident than 50 years ago in the waning months of 1974. Back then, Wilmington recorded its second earliest fall freeze on record when the temperature plummeted to 32 on the nose on October the 22nd. Now, for the inconsistency part. After this freeze, it warmed up. And not just a little bit. A few weeks later, Wilmington established its all-time November record high temperature. And that's your question. What was that record high? Was it A, 81, B, 84, C, 87, or D, 90 degrees? I'll have the answer at the conclusion of this episode of Shootin' the Breeze. Hurricane Hazel was one of the Cape Fear region's worst storms ever, and 2024 is its 70th anniversary. Hazel steamrolled from the Caribbean all the way to Canada in early and middle October 1954, killing up to 1,000 and inflicting nearly $400 million in damage along the way. October 15th was Hazel's Carolina landfall day, and sitting squarely in that Cat 4's most dangerous right front quadrant, the Cape Fear region was truly in for a worst-case scenario. To say that Hazel wrecked the Cape Fear coast is not at all hyperbolic, and the storm even today remains a benchmark of how bad things can be. 19 North Carolinians died in Hazel, most here in the Cape Fear region. And coming up later on this episode of Shootin' the Breeze, a real treat. I speak to a native Wilmingtonian and Hazel survivor who also happened to be one of the earliest employees of Channel 6 and helped cover the storm. It's an awesome conversation, and I hope you'll stay with us for that. Channel 6 was just 5 months old when Hurricane Hazel, one of the worst storms in North Carolina history, blasted the Cape Fear region. To understand what weathering and, from a news standpoint, covering this infamous storm was like, I was lucky for the chance to shoot the breeze with someone who was there.
The staff photographer was a friend of my brother. And for curiosity, I went down just to see what was going on. And they were looking for somebody to do film editing and developing, and introduced me to the station manager. And he talked to me and he said, when you get out of high school, come see me.
Mr. Roland Register insisted I just call him Roland. But man, I have a lot of respect for this lifelong Wilmingtonian, Hurricane Hazel survivor, and one of the original crew members of Channel 6 News, which in signing on in the spring of 1954 went by the call letters WMFD.
Started off at 2nd and Princess on the 3rd floor, had one studio camera and 2 slide projectors. And everybody had to be on the ball to make sure that everything worked. People at NBC said it couldn't be done, but I tell you, the staff at WMFD TV made it happen.
And in October, Hurricane Hazel presented the brand new station with an almost unimaginable test.
Well, we knew the enormous storm was coming. The only surveillance was by air. So direction of the storm and where it would hit was not exactly defined. No Doppler back then, no radar back then. There were people getting ready at the studio. We had John McNeil and Bob West. They were assigned to Wrightsville Beach. Harold Ludwig was the station photographer. He had nothing but a speed graphic. People might not be familiar with the old camera that's about this square and you pull slides out and stick them back in. He went to Carolina Beach and took stills. Power was down and they were calling back into the station so that they could make reports. The information that was coming in was fed over to the radio station and they could broadcast, and people at home who had battery-powered radios could listen to what was being reported.
October 15th, Hazel's landfall day, was beyond harrowing for the Cape Fear community. But just as vivid in Register's mind were the many challenges of the ensuing days of recovery, including those of a very young TV station trying to help in the process.
As they washed the coating off the film, it also took some of the image off the film. So the splotches are not water on the lens, it's where the image was washed off. The next day, the Air Service allowed Bob West and John McNeil to fly over the coastline and take additional damage that had occurred. And that was used all over the East Coast for news purposes to show the damage that we had.
Hurricane Hazel is probably one of the most destructive storms of the kind on record.
Literally thousands of homes were destroyed or swept out to sea by mountainous waves.
The storm itself felt like a lifetime, as you said, but history would show it was moving pretty fast. Every minute that seems like a year, but at the end of the day, it was in and it was out, and you're left with this aftermath to survey. Did you feel torn between your home and your family and your neighborhood and this new job that you found yourself in? Very important to tell the story and the story of recovery and what have you. How was that balance in the days after?
We were concerned about other people because we could see out the windows at the winds and the flying debris, the sounds, and they were eerie sounds, something I'd never experienced before. And it virtually wiped out the area about the North Carolina, South Carolina line, all of the Brunswick beaches. The yachts were up in the front yard of Gray Gables.
70 years later, and the personal and professional memories and scars are clearly still fresh. For the then 18-year-old Register, Hazel was a life-changing event.
When I hear hurricane coming, I get a little apprehensive. I saw the damage that was done, but the community came together. I think just like the people at Channel 6 did, they came together and did something that everybody said was impossible.
Register worked in news photography for another 5.5 years after Hazel, applying the skills he learned under the worst Cape Fear weather conditions for good, and having front row seats for a station call letter change in 1958 from WMFD to WECT. All right, let's move from 70 years ago to 50 years ago to refocus on this episode's trivia question. Wilmington hit 32 degrees on October 22nd of 1974, and that was the second earliest fall freeze on record, only to be followed up by the port city's all-time November record high. Congratulations if you said C to this question. Wilmington hit 87 degrees on November the 2nd of 1974. And that's it for this 19th episode of Shootin' the Breeze. Remember to connect with me on these platforms. If you have a question about a topic you saw here on Shootin' the Breeze, if you have a suggestion for a Cape Fear or Carolina weather item you'd like to see covered in the future, or if you just want to say hello and what's the good word. And as always, WECT.com/anywhere is a great place to find more unique WECT OTT content. Hope I'll see you for the next episode of Shootin' the Breeze, and take care.